Please welcome Nortina on stage. Nortina Shahrizalia. I'm sorry, you can say it. From Pactels, as a representative from Pactels, and then we'll have Janine Hackman as a representative from ALS Africa. I'm loving this walking up the stage. It feels like a preparation for for Family Feud night. And then Jean-C Andrews, who you heard from this morning, from Niels. And Leonard Vanderberg, representation of ENCALS. And we have joining us online, Jose Matamala, who is a representative from LATAM. So welcome all in person or remote. The way that this is going to go is that each person will present for 6 minutes. I'm going to have to be very strict, and then we'll have a Q&A session at the end. So Nortina, please take it away.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks very much for the invitation to be part of this panel. So I'm Nortina Shahrizalia. I'm based in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, and I'm presenting on behalf of our Pan-Asian Consortium for Treatment and Research in ALS, or Pactels. If we could just move to the next slide. So just a bit of a background. So Pactels was developed back in 2014. And this was during the meeting in Belgium. And these are some of the founding members, which includes Matthew, Gensoboe, Satoshi, and Carol Burks, who was president back during that time. And the idea was really, leaning on the successes from ENCALS and also from Niels, and the idea was really to try and bring together member societies or member countries from the Asia-Pacific region to try and raise awareness of MND ALS in this part of the world and try and see if we can do what has been done in terms of collaborative research and also improving the care of patients with ALS in this part of the world. So in terms of, it's been 10 years, but of course, we did have COVID for a period of time in that time. So in terms of what we've been able to do, it's grown, slowly getting stronger and stronger. So this started off really, we were able to kind of bring together all the different members to try and understand a little bit more what was happening with regards to ALS in the different countries. And also, one of the things that you will see, and I will be presenting after this, is the discrepancy in terms of having a lot of, you've got your high-income countries, you've got your low-middle-income countries, and of course the high-income countries are able to do much more within their own countries, whereas in the low- and middle-income countries you may not see as much in terms of awareness. So the idea was to try and see how we can address this. So part of what we did was to at least have some satellite meetings to start with. And this then accumulated to having an actual meeting of just focused on Pactels, and that was in Korea in 2018. And every 2 years we've been doing a similar meeting. I hosted the last one in Kuala Lumpur, and that in itself has already brought together all the different countries in the Asia-Pacific region. Okay, so you will see here in red, those are the countries that are considered to still be in the low-middle income countries, and that represents the bulk of the Asia-Pacific region. And that is where some of the issues that we've had in terms of trying to bring people together, because the funding is not as brilliant as it is in, for instance, North America or Europe, but you will see that Asia-Pacific represents more than 50% of the world population. So I do represent, the part of the world that I feel probably hosts the largest patient population with ALS. It's just that we probably still don't know yet who they are. So some of the challenges that we've had is really in terms of the heterogeneity. Because of the fact that the resources are limited in many of these countries, the level of care is very, very different. And we did a survey and we found that that was certainly the case. And you will see that whatever in terms of publications on epidemiology, the incidence is very much lower than that in the high-income countries. And part of that, certainly I believe, is because patients are being underdiagnosed and under-recognized. Okay, so plans for the future is really to build on what we've done so far. We want to try and do what, Niels and Enkels are doing, and slowly that is happening. It's really to try, we've really seen a lot of this. I was just talking to Kelanit, having seed grants from some of these organizations that some of us have received has already put some of these countries on the map and also allowed us to understand a little bit more about what's happening in the different countries. And I just wanted to end, I think I'm within my 6 minutes, to invite all of you to the next meeting that we have of PACTELS, which is going to be in Melbourne in Australia next year from 7th to 9th of September. And that's it from me, from PACTELS. Thank you very much. Oh, and that's our executive committee.
Thank you so much. That was excellent timing. Yes, please, Janine. Yeah, I was going to suggest if you want to stand up because it's hard to see.
Sorry. Was I supposed
Thank you very
No. We were planning of having you all sit down, but you can't really see the slides, so we're going to go to the front.
Thank you. Just want to see. So we're definitely the newest kids on the block, and we're very honoured to be here, part of this esteemed panel. So ALS in Africa has been neglected for a very long time, and the Motor Neuron Disease Association is actually only present in South Africa in 3 large cities up to recently, with an additional organisation starting largely as a result of our network in Kenya recently. So we started in October 2022 with the ALS Association seed grant, and we had 4 neurologists at 4 sites, spanning the sort of breadth of Africa, one in West Africa, Abidjan in Nigeria, one in East Africa, Nairobi, Kenya, and then 2 sites in Southern Africa, in Cape Town at the southern tip and Johannesburg, more in the northern parts of South Africa. We've grown a lot. We've gone from 4 neurologists to 7 neurologists, and all 4 sites now have ALS databases with harmonized capture sheets, and we have repositories for storing blood samples. The objective is primarily to transform the experience of patients living with ALS in Africa, and we felt that the only way to really do that was to develop a research agenda, a research platform to attract people to the clinics to be interested in the patients so that the patients can actually benefit from care. We know that we don't have ALS therapies on our continent, largely. Very few people can afford it. And so by improving the clinic environment, you can in fact add 7.5 good quality months to a patient's experience, and this was shown by the Irish group in 2003. So we're building research capacity with personnel, with neurologists, with fellows, neuropsychologists, genetic counsellors, and we're trying to do that at each site. It hasn't really happened in all the sites, but we're trying to. And by building this research platform, the patient really, the doctor becomes the therapy for the patients, and the patients are very appreciative of it. They use words such as they feel that they're being embraced, that they're people, that we understand, that we care. And so we are, I think, transforming those lives that we are interacting with. And ultimately, we want to bring treatment trials to Africa. And so by organizing these research-oriented clinics in these sites, we hope that one day we will be able to do that. So we're not in a position to have any meetings at this point, but we want to build capacity. So we have put in funding proposals. But as my colleague has just mentioned, it's very difficult to compete with the resource. The non-resource constrained areas. So I would put a plea in to just consider smaller research grants to help build capacity in the low and middle income countries. We've been very fortunate in that one of my collaborators has started a neurogenomics lab, and she received 8 years of welcome funding, and it has allowed us to also look for actionable genes in our patients to basically report what the mutational profile is in our patients, so that we can also attract so that we can attract trials one day. So what are the challenges? Well, as already been mentioned, the challenge for us is to keep growing slowly but surely. As I've already said, it's difficult because we have to compete with larger, well-established groups, and we can't compete on a scientific level yet. So that is difficult and challenging. Resource constraints in our setting means that patients don't have access to many things, no treatments, no devices, and we have a limited capacity with researchers being available to us. However, our plans for the future, we are hoping to continue our research platform by looking for funds that, as much as we can. At the moment, we're doing these, as I said, actionable gene analyses on very small research budgets. By increasing genetic diversity in ALS research generally will contribute to discovery, we believe, and ultimately we want to be able to give our patients also access to treatment trials. This is a photo of the Neurogenomics Lab in Cape Town and the ALS Africa group in Cape Town, and then this is a photograph of the different groups in the other countries. On the left is the Kenyan group, in the middle the Nigerian group, and on the right is the Johannesburg group in South Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Janine. Jinsey, you're up.
Okay, so I'll be talking a little bit about NEALS. You've already heard a lot this morning, so I'll keep it very short and sweet. And this is just a little bit on our background. So as I mentioned earlier this morning, we were established in 1995, so we've had over 25 years of experience, and really trying to keep this organization as a clinical trials rooted in research and advancing treatments for ALS. That has evolved, like I discussed earlier this morning. And initially, a lot of people ask us now, here we are at the International Alliance, they ask, okay, Northeast ALS, what's with that name? And then I followed up with international. It doesn't make any sense, so I think one of our future plans might be rebranding, but keeping our name as NEALS. But it was initially a group of centers out of the Northeast that kind of grew into this huge clinical trials network. And we've really achieved clinical trial infrastructure, especially in North America, and trying to put the lived experience into clinical trial design, outcomes assessments, and also trying to push the pipeline and actually grow the pipeline for potential new therapies for ALS. And as you saw earlier today, I laid out how there's a group of volunteers. So I'm a volunteer co-chair with Dr. James Berry. There's an executive committee that also volunteers their time, and a lot of subcommittees that specialize in very intricate areas, and they actually grow or evolve over time depending on the needs of the community. And of course, as I mentioned, we are asked a lot to participate in everything that is related to ALS, but the core of the mission is really research and clinical trials and clinical development of new therapies. But that does touch all aspects of ALS, and so we try to leverage the organization in ways or partner with other organizations. In North America and US, we have many organizations that work together that can achieve those goals for clinical care, in addition to research and provide for our community. So upcoming meetings, we do have monthly community education webinar series. This has been our way of trying to interact with the community. We also have virtual ALS clinical research learning institutes. As I mentioned earlier this morning, we try to engage our community into becoming research ambassadors. We need them. We're small. We're a big organization, but we're small at the heart with big ambition, and we can't do that without partnering with people with lived experiences and partnering with the organizations that really provide help for our infrastructure, like the ALS Association, and trying to make sure that we're able to leverage our community to help ourselves. And then we have in-person, hopefully we have our in-person ALS Clinical Research Learning Institute. Last year we were derailed by obviously the hurricanes. That will happen October 2025, and then we have our annual meeting, which will be probably bigger and better than all of the years previous. The challenge, I just kept it simple. So two main things: member engagement and funding. Funding for a couple of things. One is that, because we're an organization, we don't get funding directly from philanthropic donations from patients. We really do have our member institutions provide membership fees, and that helps provide the main kind of infrastructure funding, but it's not enough as the organization grows and starts new initiatives. So we seek out grants and sponsorship from other organizations, but trying to keep that sustainable is definitely backbreaking work. And I'm sure all of the other organizations can think about, we all probably have the same kind of challenges in trying to think about how to keep all of the organizations sustainable so we can serve the community and serve our academic researchers. And then funding for projects. There's always a lot of ideas. People want to do different things in different areas, and they ask Niels to help. And so sometimes in order to implement those ideas, sometimes there is government funding, sometimes there's organizations that are willing to fund it in small piecemeal, but sometimes we're just limited. And then membership engagement, it's not so much engaging the members to participate in the consortium. That's done deal. Many people are very passionate about participating in the Niels organization and participating in clinical trials. But I think for us, it's more of like growing the workforce. We have big ideas, big ambition, and as our organizations all get bigger, we will need more people to serve the people living with ALS. And so trying to get out to medical students, trying to get out to other allied professionals like physical therapists, respiratory therapists, nurses, and others that are involved in care to specialize in ALS and provide those as we get bigger. And also trying to diversify our workforce, especially in the United States when we have a lot of people speak different languages, different backgrounds. We also want the healthcare provider teams and the research teams to reflect that, and trying to make sure that we're able to kind of meet the needs of different cultures is what makes the U.S. beautiful and challenging. And so those are some of our challenges and some of our initiatives for the future. But in addition to those, we're going to try to do member initiatives or annual meeting initiatives that we can dedicate to trainings and workshops to meet the changing landscape for clinical trials in ALS. And we're going to try to rearrange our agenda to meet some of the needs and comments from previous meetings. We're going to try to do something a little bit different this year. So I talked about strategic partnerships earlier today, and we have partnered with industry, we've partnered with people living with ALS, but we also want to make sure, because there's so many organizations that support ALS in different ways, we want to be a conduit to try to bring everybody together. And so we're doing these organizations roundtables and trying to create partnerships like that. And then we also want to continue our collaborations with industry through scientific advisory board meetings and NEALS affiliated partnerships where it'll be a two-way street to try to develop ideal clinical trials and also to continue to expand education and training opportunities and hopefully develop programs for younger individuals that are earlier in their training so that we can draw people into ALS because we really are going to be in a crisis in a few years as the population ages. And with that, I'll conclude.
Thank you so much. We're going to hear from Leonard.
Yeah. Well, I'm Leonard Vandenberg, chair of NCALS. Great to be here in Montreal. In 2026, this meeting is going to be in Amsterdam, so that's the only Dutch part of this presentation. So I hope you all join. I don't think it has been announced officially yet, so don't tell anyone yet, I'll be in trouble. NCALS, we started off as European ALS Consortium. If you try to pronounce that in an abbreviation, it's ELSC or something like that. So we changed the name, so you can do it, Jinsey, with Niels as well. We changed the name into NCALS, which just sounds a lot better. The goal is to encourage research among our centers in Europe as much as we can. So these are the countries, 25 countries are involved, 79 centers. We have an executive board, a program committee of the yearly meeting, and an award committee we present an award yearly for the best young investigator. So these are the people on the board, so this is the boring stuff, and this is the program committee, and this is the award. So Mar and Orla are chairing those committees. So we have yearly meetings, and it's a little bit different than Niels, where they have the same time always in Florida, which is very nice, very good. But we change around Europe to go to in a city where there is an ALS center. So the next one will be with Adriano Chio's center in Turin in June 3rd to 6th. So it'll be nice and sunny. So if you want to join, you're welcome. Well, we have done, and we're several collaborative research projects are ongoing, funded by the EU, the Joint Programme for Neurodegenerative Diseases, and the EU funding. We have in Europe some large population-based cohorts in Ireland, Netherlands, and in Italy, and we combined the data, but we also combined the data from all the other countries. The projects that we started off with were on genetics, and from that we started Project Mine, which is now a global effort to combine whole genome sequence data into one big data set. And we also combined data sets on environmental and lifestyle factors, and also I think the NCALS survival prediction model has been quite successful, based on population-based databases and other databases throughout Europe, 11 data sets from 9 countries, over 11,000 patients, and now that is being used in trials to include a wider population of ALS patients into trials. We also developed outcome measures, the ECAS for cognitive changes, and the staging system developed by Omar. A project within NCALS is TriCALS, which is a trial consortium. It's a little bit more exclusive, so you can only be part of TriCALS if you see at least 60 new patients each year, and if you have well-trained staff. So that's a consortium now in 19 countries, almost 70 centers. We have several activities. So we collaborate with pharma, we raise study awareness among patients, we help with protocol development and regulatory issues, and we do feasibility among Europe for trials, and we help with recruitment and site management. And what we've done so far within TriCALS is that we started TriCALS. We have a master protocol approved by the EMA. We talk to the EMA a lot to help us to do better trials, also to approve more drugs more easily. we have a patient registry, and we have well, this is about the NCALS prediction model. We incorporated that now into trials. We started the TriCALS Academy, which is a platform to train for outcome measures, and we recently also included the neurophysiology outcome measures. So it's an ongoing project, and more outcome measures are incorporated in that. We launched INARC, which is now an international consortium of trial staff, so of the nurses and the trial coordinators in trials, that they talk also more with each other and encourage collaboration among them as well. And we have the masterclass next year in February, where we invite industry and all the ALS centers to discuss how we can do better trials and more trials. The last slide. I'm doing okay on time, am I? Yeah, I've been warned.
1 minute.
Yeah?
1 minute.
1 minute. Okay, I only need 30 seconds this time.
Beautiful.
So that's good. So please come to Amsterdam, 2026. But this is an important slide. This is about the database. We're setting up the European database. It's called Precision ALS. It's run from Dublin. Orla Hardeman, and it's a prospective database for all kinds of patient information and data on patients, and also it's also a prospective database, so we're collecting data prospectively. Okay, that's it.
Fantastic. And on time. We have Jose Matamala from LATAM, so please take it away.
Yeah, good afternoon to everyone. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me to the meeting, to this regional research network meeting. My name is Jose Manuel Matamala. I am a neurologist from Chile, and I am a member of the LATAM Executive Committee. And in the next 6 minutes, I will talk about the LATAM, this Latin American ALS Consortium. So next slide. ALS in Latin America, and why we should do research. So we have an important population in Latin America. 7% of the world population is in our region. In our region, we have just a small number of ALS studies so far, so there is a lot to explore. We have a mixed genetic background with potential novel genes to discover. Also, we have poor access to ALS care and poor access to drug discovery trials, so there are a few things that we need to improve. Next. We have also some regional strength. We have a linguistic and cultural homogeneity. Our patients have strong commitment and willingness to participate in research. We have also strong networking skills and social support for ALS care. Next slide. So a year and a half ago, a group of colleagues from different Latin American countries decided to emulate other regional research networks, and we create LATAM. And LATAM is a network of centers, clinics, scientific academic groups, and other institutions in Latin America dedicated to research and clinical care in ALS-MND. And we include colleagues from Mexico, Cuba, Guatemala, Salvador, Costa Rica, Puerto Rico, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Chile, Argentina, Brazil, Uruguay, and Paraguay so far. Next slide. We have an executive committee made up of 4 colleagues from South America and 1 from Central America who represent the entire network. Next slide. And our main objective is to develop a research network in Latin America to advance in the understanding and treatment of our ALS patients. Next. We really think if we improve research in our area, also we are going to improve clinical care and education. Next slide. So what kind of projects have we been working on over the past year? First was to identify colleagues from different Latin American countries to form the LATAM Research Network. So far, we are around 70 members from different countries. Second was to identify priorities in the region. And we have identified that characterize our population is one of our first priorities in terms of the epidemiology, clinical features, and also genetic background. That is really important, and we are going to put our effort in trying to advance and do this, move forward in terms of do research in that areas. And our third project was to organize the first LATAM symposium. Next slide. So the first LATAM symposium was held in Campinas, in Brazil, on the 17th and 18th of October this year. Next, it was a 2-day symposium with more than 28 lectures and 30 research abstracts. It was a really fantastic symposium with a unique opportunity to exchange ideas between colleagues. In this symposium, we decided our research priorities, and we are working on that during this month. Next slide. So our challenges, we have a significant heterogeneity in terms of access to research and clinical resources among Latin American countries. So it's something that we need to work on. Also, of course, we have lack of research funding locally, and we need to apply for more global research grants. And of course, it is tricky to compete with more formal or organized research groups. And also there is lack of interest in involving Latin American countries in development, in the development of new ALS drugs in clinical trials. We are underrepresented in that manner. So we need to also improve that. Our patients have the right to participate in clinical trials, and I think is one of our priorities too. Next slide. So our plans for the future, for the next year, is to develop the administrative and financial status that will govern LATAM in the future. We are going to initiate the first Latin American multi-center ALS registry, and that is a top research priority for us. We want to know how many patients do we have, their features, and then move to starting our genetic characterization of our population. And the third is to perform the second LATAM symposium, again in Brazil next year. We have decided to do one symposium per year, at least for the first 4 to 5 years, to improve, try to move forward our research, try to apply for grants, and try to do better in terms to have an impact in our region. So thank you, and we look forward to sharing ideas and working together to improve the understanding and care of ALS. Thanks.
All right, thank you so much to all the presenters. We're gonna open it up for questions from the audience and here and online, so please come forward with questions. I see one question. Hi, and please introduce yourself.
Hello. David Taylor from ALS Canada. I want to say how incredible this is as well. Just from a global standpoint, 10 years ago, thinking about this panel in this way is incredible and so amazing to see. And also just wanted to throw it out there and ask perhaps Jinsey and Leonard, would there be ever an opportunity, or maybe amongst nonprofits in the space, to think about some sort of support for cross-pollination, travel and registration for some members of these other networks to go to Neil's meetings and NCAL's meetings, and vice versa, making sure more of the key opinion leaders from each of those networks are going to meetings in those regions. I know it already happens, but really pushing that to try to help lift all boats around the world.
I can go first?
Yeah, go.
Sure.
Please.
I think I can speak for Niels in that, and I think Dr. Matamala was one of the recipients of the Travel Awards to come to Niels, but we Because of earlier when I presented about NEELS and talked about the Global Research and Outreach Working Group, the GROW Committee, there were regions that were looking to develop, and they wanted to develop centers, and so they reached out to us, and so this committee was formed. It's not necessarily we're going out to those regions, and the goal is really to help them develop so that they can connect with their region's consortia. But in doing so, sometimes they just want to attend the NEELS meeting, and we try to accommodate. We've brought people in from different consortia, and we'd love to bring the consortia leaders in, I think, within our funding limits, right? So I think if there was a way that we could think about projects that we can work together and maybe seek out grant funding for that so that we can provide travel opportunities and attendance opportunities, not only to NEELS and NCALS, but maybe me and Leonard want to go over here to ELATAM's next symposium. So I think it's really important for us to do that, and that way we can address the needs in a more global way rather than a regional. There's needs for regional things to be addressed, but as a global ALS community, there are things that we could achieve.
Yeah, I just also want to confirm that I would love to go to Brazil. But no, at NCALS in Barcelona last year, we had we sponsored several groups from South America to come to Barcelona. We had a special session on the topic of population-based studies, I think, in South America as well, and Europe. And yeah, in Sweden, we did not have that, but it's a good point. Yeah, we should do that more often, and we'll do that in Turin as well. Good point, David.
Thank you. There's another question here, or I see one here.
Thank you. This is Pablo from the ALS Association of Argentina, from the Board of Directors of the Alliance. I heard Dr. Matamala, and actually I felt excited about the future projects of ELATAM. And specifically, I wanted to ask Dr. Matamala about the ALS registry, the Latin American ALS registry. How are you planning to approach that effort?
Thank you. It's a good question. We have a working group that we have decided in the first ELATAM symposium. So we are like 5 or 6 colleagues that are working together to try to define the minimum data that we want to collect across the region. There are different initiatives. Brazil have their own ALS registry. I have started a registry here in Chile. There are some projects also in Colombia, and their own registries have some differences. So we want to try to find the common variables and the minimum variables to just advance and do a very simple Latin American registry. We want to apply for grants too. We're thinking in NIH grant to apply. We need funding. It's impossible to do a Latin American registry we have a lot of countries with different resources, and try to do a registry. We need funding. But we are working now in the variables and in where we're going to use REDCap as a lot of other registry, and where we're trying to starting and then applying. Because if we wait to have money for this, we're not going to start. We're not going to start never.
Thank you. That's an excellent point. Anybody else has a question? Okay, I don't see any raised hands, so I'm going to ask a question to all of you. I agree with what's been said by David. This is amazing to see you all here or virtually connected, and I think this network, this global network that's coming together, it can be really enriching for all of the members involved. And so I'm asking each one of you for just a brief comment, 1 or 2 minutes, on what you're looking forward to learn from this connection. Oh, well, that's not good. what are you looking forward to learn from this global connection, from the peers on this panel, and generally from the other organizations here? We can start with Dr. Matamala online, if that's okay, or if anybody else wants to go first.
I can.
Okay, Jinsi, go ahead.
Yeah, why not?
Dr.
I think I have been looking forward to this for a long time. And I think one of the areas where I think global collaboration is really important is in the U.S. as we moved towards developing drugs that were ready for regulatory review. Many of these trials were done in multiple countries across the world. And what was frustrating when I'm sitting with the FDA explaining the rationale and understanding their criteria for evaluation for approval is that their criteria may be a little bit different than another country or region's approval requirements for that regulatory authority or that governing authority. And so when I asked actually the interim commissioner at the time about some of the disparities, their response was that there was a lot of work done between regulatory authorities for preclinical requirements and standardization of, like, for example, toxicology and animal studies and studies required to bring a experimental therapy into clinical trials. But there has not been that kind of level of work done on a global scale for regulatory authorities for clinical trial data. So it's not just for ALS, but it would be great for ALS. So requirements for accelerated approval, requirements for conditional approval, or full approval, getting global harmonization of what we as the scientific community and people with lived experiences feel is the right bar, and harmonizing that. So we have to come up with that and then help them adopt it. And so this is where I think the International Alliance has been helpful, and also this type of meeting on a regular basis could be helpful going forward in the future.
Well, Leonard, if you want to answer that.
Oh.
I see you. Oh, sorry.
No, go for it.
No.
You go ahead.
No. Listen, I have 6 kids at home. I'm always the last one.
6 kids. I don't know how that refers to me. Okay. I think. So I'm from Malaysia, which is not one of the high-income countries. So I apologize if I'm not representing the other countries within PACTELS when I say this. But just like what Jose Manuel had said, and also what Janine had said, for us, the reality is that it's not about, doing research at the level of, finding a drug. We're actually trying to get research just to raise awareness, just do the simple genetics. So one of the things that I'm looking forward to here is we really need industry to be interested in the rest of the world, because that engagement, there are no clinical trials happening in many countries, in PACTELS for sure. And also, Jose Manuel had mentioned also in Latin America, and I'm pretty sure also in Africa. So I think we, kind of need industry to be aware that the majority of patients are going to be in these other countries, and just that support of having a clinical trial really can develop the care that's being delivered, just also by raising awareness and supporting the care that we can deliver to patients with MND ALS in these resource-limited settings.
I absolutely agree and underscore what everything you said. But I think the other important thing is to say thank you to the Alliance for allowing us to have this conversation and for you to hear what we've got to say. I think that's very important. And just being part of this conversation will enthuses us to continue our work, which is not always easy because there is, it's difficult. It's difficult to continue when there's not a lot of resources. But it's worth it. I think for our patients, it's worth it.
Yeah, maybe two things. One is, so I think the US and Europe have done many projects before, many trials before. And even now, we're at the stage that actually last year, we had to confirm 2 phase 2 trials in Europe that were actually not successful, the Emmerich drug and edaravone, that there was actually no reason to prescribe that to our patients. It was kind of frustrating. I thought, well, actually, yeah, I mean, that we should avoid in the future, that we also let the regulatory people talk to each other, and that we do more trials on a global level, and that because, yeah, I'm talking to you guys because this is a very confusing for patients, and that there's a drug available in one continent and not in the other, and then the other continent confirms that it's actually not effective, and then it's taken from the market. I think that's not good for the field. The second thing is that it is important, I think, also for us. We're now, for the first time, together at one table. Next time, I think David has to pay for South America to be here as well, Dave. It's good we haven't known, because otherwise we would have sponsored him.
I know.
Yeah. But no, it's important that we talk to each other. I think, yeah, so the message is that collaboration on a scientific level, but also on any other level, it's very hard work, and the Alliance probably can confirm that. It's not always as easy as it looks from the outside. Okay, we'll start NCAL. It's a lot of work, people are involved, people are sometimes not jealous, but just a little bit, yeah, that happens in the US too, is it? That people don't think that they could do better, but so it is also to organize a meeting, etc., etc. It's hard work, and we should support each other as much as we can. We started off ANCALs. We know about the governance, how we should do that. So yeah, I'll be very much available to help if that's necessary. Yeah, please talk to ANCALs if you need any help. I talked a lot with Merit Sokowicz in the beginning when we made ANCALs more useful, how she had done it in the beginning, and et cetera, et cetera. So please, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important. You make a very good point. It's important to leverage existing consortiums to see how it can help developing consortiums.
Yeah.
I think also the fundamental rights that we talked about for individuals living with ALS is a guide. So that was discussed this morning, and helps to elevate what we need to do to standardize the care and that every person living with ALS globally deserves. So I think the clinical care and developing the centers, and then the research, and developing those consortiums to be sophisticated so that they can work with their local regulatory authorities, I think will help to bring those trials. Also, highlighting the consortium. So Tina, I had a chance to meet Tina for the first time because of COVID.
Zoom.
Yeah, by Zoom. This is the first time I'm meeting her in person. And so incorporating regional networks, highlighting them in meetings like this so that sponsors or industry partners can see that there's a consortium that exists there that can do a clinical trial or are willing to do it is important. And I think as we develop more therapies, understanding its effects in different populations, especially in the US, we're very aware of this. So partnering with PACTALs or with Africa or with ILATAM, because we have people living with ethnic origins from those countries, will be really critically important, not for just genetics, but also for therapies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, another challenge will also be how we collaborate with industry.
Yes.
I mean, we all want to do more trials, and we need industry to do more trials, but we also want to be, and we want to stay, independent organizations. So
Yep.
we should represent our centers, our patients, in an independent way. And that I think is probably also an issue for the Alliance. If you sponsor too much by industry, you lose your independency, especially if there's a drug that will become available.
Thank you. Can we hear from our online guest?
Yeah, sure. Totally agree with you guys and with Tina. I think we need to do clinical trials in Latin America. Every patient that go to my clinic are looking for be part of the drug development, and that is a key thing that I really need to push. And the other thing that we could learn from this network is learn from you the management of this, the network, your experience in trying to build up a registry, the experience that you have in terms of doing research and collaborative research like Project Mine and other research projects. I think we can learn a lot from you. The mistakes that you have been doing, the successful things that you have done, and try to don't adapt those things to our reality, because our reality is different. It's different in terms of legal things, it's different in terms of cultural things. So looking forward to learn and also looking forward to try to bring clinical trials to Latin America.
Thank you so much. I think we are up with time, but please join me in thanking our panel, online and in person, for the wonderful presentation.